Good evening and welcome to our service. Let us start by singing hymn 99, and I will read the third verse. He gives his angels charge o'er thee. No evil therefore shalt thou see. Thy refuge shall be God most high, dwelling within his secret place. Thou shalt behold his power and grace. See his salvation ever nigh. Hymn 99. The readings for tonight are inspired by the needed rebuilding and restoration of the greater Los Angeles area, and also include spiritual rebuilding, restoration, and spiritual home. I will read from the Bible and from Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy. From the Bible, Nehemiah. And it came to pass in the month of Nisan, in the 20th year of Artaxerxes the king, that wine was before him. And I took up the wine and gave it unto the king. Now I had not before time been sad in his presence. Wherefore the king said unto me, Why is thy countenance sad, seeing thou art not sick? This is nothing else but sorrow of heart. Then I was very sore afraid, and said unto the king, Let the king live forever. Why should not my countenance be sad when the city, the place of my father's sepulchres, lieth waste, and the gates thereof are consumed with fire? Then the king said unto me, For what dost thou make request? So I prayed to the God of heaven, and I said unto the king, If it please the king, and if thy servant have found favor in thy sight, that thou wouldst send me unto Judah, unto the city of my father's sepulchres, that I may build it. So it pleased the king to send me, and I set him a time. And I went out by night by the gate of the valley, the walls of Jerusalem, which were broken down, and the gates thereof were consumed with fire. Then I said unto them, Ye see the distress that we're in, how Jerusalem lieth waste, and the gates thereof are burned with fire. Come, and let us build up the wall of Jerusalem, that we be no more a reproach. And they said, Let us rise up and build. So they strengthened their hands for this good work. So built we the wall, and all the wall was joined together unto the half thereof, for the people had a mind to work. But it came to pass that when Sanballat and Tobiah and the Arabians and the Ammonites and the Ashdodites heard that the walls of Jerusalem were made up, and that the breaches began to be stopped, then they were very wroth, and conspired all of them together to come and to fight against Jerusalem and to hinder it. And it came to pass from that time forth that the half of my servants wrought in the work, and the other half of them held both the spears, the shields, the bows, and the rulers were behind all the house of Judah. They which builded on the wall, and they that bare burdens, with those that laded, every one with one of his hands wrought in the work, and with the other hand held a weapon. For the builders, everyone had his sword girded by his side, and so builded. Psalms. The Lord doth build up Jerusalem. He gathereth together the outcasts of Israel. Except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Except the Lord keep the city, the watchman waketh but in vain. The stone which the builders refused is become the headstone of the corner. Isaiah. Enlarge the place of thy tent, and let them stretch forth the curtains of thine habitations. Spare not, lengthen thy cords, and strengthen thy stakes. For a small moment have I forsaken thee, but with great mercies will I gather thee. In a little wrath I hid my face from thee for a moment, but with everlasting kindness will I have mercy on thee, saith the Lord, thy Redeemer. For the mountains shall depart, and the hills be removed, but my kindness shall not depart from thee, neither shall the covenant of my peace be removed, saith the Lord that hath mercy on thee. O thou afflicted, tossed with tempest, and not comforted, behold, I will lay thy stones with fair colors, and lay thy foundations with sapphires. And I will make thy windows of agates, and thy gates of carbuncles, and all thy borders of pleasant stones. In righteousness shalt thou be established. Thou shalt be far from oppression, for thou shalt not fear, and from terror, for it shall not come near thee. And the Lord shall guide thee continually, and satisfy thy soul in drought, and make fat thy bones. And thou shalt be like a watered garden, and like a spring of water, whose waters fail not. And they that shall be of thee shall build the old waste places. Thou shalt raise up the foundations of many generations, and thou shalt be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of paths to dwell in. Joel. Fear not, O land. Be glad and rejoice, for the Lord will do great things. Be glad then, ye children of Zion, and rejoice in the Lord your God, for he hath given you the former rain moderately, and he will cause to come down for you the rain, the former rain, and the latter rain in the first month. And I will restore to you the years that the locust hath eaten, the cankerworm, and the caterpillar, and the palmer worm, my great army which I sent among you. And ye shall eat in plenty, and be satisfied, and praise the name of the Lord your God, that hath dealt wondrously with you. And my people shall never be ashamed. Matthew. Not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine, and doeth them, I will liken him up unto a wise man, which built his house upon a rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. And everyone that heareth these sayings of mine, and doeth them not, shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. And it came to pass, when Jesus had ended these sayings, the people were astonished at his doctrine, for he taught them as one having authority, and not as the scribes. And Jesus knew their thoughts, and said unto them, Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? And if I, by Beelzebub, cast out devils, by whom do your children cast them out? Therefore they shall be your judges. But if I cast out devils by the Spirit of God, then the kingdom of God is come unto you. Or else, how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house? John, let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. Proverbs, when wisdom entereth into thine heart, and knowledge is pleasant unto thy soul, discretion shall preserve thee, understanding shall keep thee. Ephesians. Now therefore, ye are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints, and of the household of God, and are built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone, in whom all the building fitly framed together groweth unto an holy temple in the Lord, in whom ye also are builded together for an habitation of God through the Spirit. And from Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy. Home is the dearest spot on earth, and it should be the center, though not the boundary, of the affections. Jesus restored Lazarus by the understanding that Lazarus had never died, not by an admission that his body had died and then lived again. The definition of Babel from the glossary. Babel, self-destroying error, a kingdom divided against itself, which cannot stand. Material knowledge. The higher false knowledge builds on the basis of evidence obtained from the 5 corporeal senses, the more confusion ensues, and the more certain is the downfall of its structure. The definition of Elias. Prophecy, spiritual evidence opposed to material sense. Christian Science, which can be discerned the spiritual fact of whatever the material senses behold, the basis of immortality. From Matthew 17, verse 11. Elias truly shall first come and restore all things. So we have goodness and beauty to gladden the heart, but man, left to the hypotheses of material sense, unexplained by science, is as a wandering comet or the desolate star, a weary searcher for a viewless home. The evidence of the physical senses often reverses the real science of being, and so creates a reign of discord, assigning seeming power to sin, sickness, and death. But the great facts of life, rightly understood, defeat these triad of errors, contradict their false witnesses, and reveal the kingdom of heaven, the actual reign of harmony on earth. Adhesion, cohesion, and attraction are properties of mind. They belong to divine principle and support the equipoise of that thought force which launched the earth in its orbit and said to the proud wave, "Thus far and no farther." Spirit is the life, substance, and continuity of all things. We tread on forces. Withdraw them, and creation must collapse. Human knowledge calls them forces of matter, but divine science declares that they belong wholly to divine mind, are inherent in this mind, and so restores them to their rightful home and classification. Mistakes could neither wholly obscure the divine science of the scriptures, seen from Genesis to Revelation, mar the demonstration of Jesus, nor annul the healing by the prophets, who foresaw that the stone which the builders rejected would become the head of the corner. The strong cords of scientific demonstration, as twisted and wielded by Jesus, are still needed to purge the temples of their vain traffic in worldly worship and to make them dwelling places for the Most High. If you launch your bark upon the ever-agitated but healthful waters of truth, you will encounter storms. Your good will be evil spoken of. This is the cross. Take it up and bear it, for through it you win and wear the crown. Pilgrim on earth, thy home is heaven. Stranger, thou art the guest of God. There is no vapid fury of mortal mind, expressed in earthquake, wind, wave, lightning, fire. Bestial ferocity in this so-called mind is self-destroyed. When Jesus spoke of reproducing his body, knowing as he did that mind was the builder, and said, "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up," they thought that he meant their material temple instead of his body. To such materialists, the real man seemed a specter, unseen and unfamiliar, and the body which they laid in a sepulchre seemed to be substance. This materialism lost sight of the true Jesus. But the faithful Mary saw him, and he presented to her more than ever the true idea of life and substance. Our master asked, "How can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he first bind the strong man?" In other words, how can I heal the body without beginning with so-called mortal mind, which directly controls the body? When disease is once destroyed in this so-called mind, the fear of disease is gone, and therefore the disease is thoroughly cured. Mortal mind is the strong man, which must be held in subjection before its influence upon health and morals can be removed. This error conquered, we can despoil the strong man of his goods, namely of sin and disease. We should consecrate existence not to the unknown God whom we ignorantly worship, but to the eternal Builder, the everlasting Father, to the life which mortal sense cannot impair nor mortal belief destroy. We must realize the ability of mental might to offset human misconceptions and to replace them with the life which is spiritual, not material. In Revelation chapter 21, we read, "And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea." This testimony of Holy Writ sustains the fact in science that the heavens and earth, to one human consciousness, that consciousness which God bestows, are spiritual, while to another, the unillumined human mind, the vision is material. This shows unmistakably that what the human mind terms matter and spirit indicate states and stages of consciousness. When you read this, remember Jesus' words, "The kingdom of God is within you." This spiritual consciousness is therefore a present possibility. This sacred city, described in the Apocalypse as one that lieth foursquare and cometh down from God out of heaven, represents the light and glory of divine science. The builder and maker of this new Jerusalem is God, as we read in the book of Hebrews, and it is a city which hath foundations. The description is metaphoric. Spiritual teaching must always be by symbols. The four sides of our city are the Word, Christ, Christianity, and divine science. And the gates of it shall not be shut at all by day, for there shall be no night there. This city is wholly spiritual, as its four sides indicate. In Revelation 21, verse 22, further describing this holy city, the beloved disciple writes, "And I saw no temple therein, for the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are the temple of it." There was no temple, that is, no material structure in which to worship God, for he must be worshipped in spirit and in love. This spiritual, holy habitation has no boundary nor limit, but its four cardinal points are: first, the word of life, truth, and love; second, the Christ, the spiritual idea of God; third, Christianity, which is the outcome of the divine principle of the Christ idea in Christian history; fourth, Christian science, which today and forever interprets this great example and the great exemplar. Surely, goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house, the consciousness of love forever. Please join in a few moments of silent prayer and then pray together the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Please join in singing hymn 216. And I will read the first verse. O he who trusts in God's protection and hopes in him when fears alarm, is sheltered by his loving kindness, delivered by his mighty arm. If ye God's law can understand, ye have not builded on the sand. Hymn 216. This church is a branch of the Mother Church, the First Church of Christ Scientist in Boston, Massachusetts. The lesson sermon read from this desk on Sunday morning is the same read in Christian Science churches throughout the world. Children and teenagers are welcome in our Sunday school, where they learn the healing truths of Christian Science and their application to daily life. Sunday school meets at the same time as our church service, 10 a.m. For those not yet ready to attend Sunday school or these Wednesday evening meetings, our children's room is available, where the little ones are cared for in an atmosphere of love and joy. In our reading room, a quiet sanctuary located in this building, you may study, borrow, or purchase the Bible, the Christian Science textbook, and other Christian Science literature. The reading room is open after every Sunday service and before each Wednesday evening meeting, or by appointment anytime convenient for you. Everyone is welcome to attend our services, to use the reading room, and to bring the children to Sunday school. You may also access our website and YouTube recordings of Sunday services and these Wednesday evening meetings by typing Third Church by Abby in your web browser. This meeting is now open to you to share testimonies of healing and remarks on Christian Science. Remember, if you're joining us from home, unmute yourself so we can hear what you have to say. Let us close by singing hymn 246. And I'll read the refrain. Have ye not heard? Have ye not known? The everlasting God, creator is of heaven and earth, and he alone is Lord. Hymn 246.
Spread